Harlow, Harlow. Harlow, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a test transmission. This is a test transmission. Harlow. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Yeah, thanks, Richard. There's a lot of noise in the background, but that's mostly coming from HF. Once I start transmitting, it'll disappear. Good evening. This is VK3EKH, VK3 Charlie Sierra Juliet. No, the other frequency, call sign. This is VK3EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night broadcast coming to you from the studios of VK3CSJ, is what I was meant to say, ad-libbing. And we're broadcasting on prime frequency of 3541 kilohertz in the 80 meter amateur radio band, and simulcast on 160 on 1865 kilohertz in the 160 meter amateur band, our medium wave service, and also streaming live to the internet on our YouTube stream in HD. And that's about it tonight. The ATV repeater is currently off air, VK3RTV, digital channel number 1 and 2. Currently, the repeater is currently down for maintenance. So Peter is working flat out in resolving that problem. Good morning, good evening, Peter, if you're watching. And we're also got an active email address, vk3ekh@gmail.com, vk3ekh@gmail.com. And I'm watching the inbox as we speak, and straight away we have a report from Don, VK3HDX. G'day, Don. And he's reporting already a 30 plus signal on, is it 80? And no, 40, plus 30 to 40 on 80 and 20 on 160. Great picture on YouTube stream. Yep, we are struggling to read that from the monitor that's way over there. Anyway, good evening everyone. Trust everybody is okay on this 18th of March. What a week it's been. Alright, now I'll just bear with us for a tick. I'm just going to just put up a test card for a second. Back to me. Okay, just had to quickly do something in the shack there. Otherwise I think everything is okay. Alright, now we have a few items tonight. I suspect that it will fill up the 60 minutes without a problem. So let's get into it. Alright, now as I usually do, for those folks tuning in for the first time on HF and anywhere else for that matter, and let me know if you are watching YouTube. Like I say, there's a lot of visual stuff tonight. We have a report from our Space Weather woman, Tamitha. She's giving us an update on the latest events with the sun, and then there's some video footage of a dish being assembled at the Deep Space Network. Time-elapse photography. It's quite amazing to see this big dish coming together in just a few minutes. And also a report on the Artemis, the launch of Artemis, or about to anyway, coming out of the big building there. A little bit of footage there too, and a few other still shots here and there. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH, and I can hear, I've got RF breaking through in something in here. I think it's the speaker up there. I've got an external speaker and there's RF getting into it, but it's not so bad. Hopefully it won't affect the on-air signal. It shouldn't. G'day to Martin, VK7JH on the chat room. We also have a chat room, I should say. I haven't mentioned that, but if you want to come up on the Discord chat window, you can find that on the ASV website at www.asv.org.au under the Radio Astronomy tab, and look for the link to the ASV broadcast. The Astronomical Society of Victoria was founded in 1922, comprises over 1,600 members throughout Victoria and Australia and overseas. Membership of the Society is open to all persons with an interest in astronomy. The Society's objectives are to encourage the study and practice of astronomy, to disseminate the knowledge of the science, and to provide greater facilities for the study among its members. Monthly meetings are usually held on the second Wednesday of each month, except in January, with the latter being held on a Saturday night. Meetings start at 8 p.m. at the Moulier Hall, National Herbarium, Burwood Avenue, Melbourne, near the Melbourne Observatory, which is located not too far from the Shrine of Remembrance. Parking is available in Burwood Avenue, which runs right past the club room of the National Herbarium, Moulier Hall. Admission is free and visitors are most welcome. Privileges of membership include the right to borrow books, periodicals and other publications from the Society's extensive library located at Melbourne Observatory, the old observatory office. Receipt of the ASV's magazine Crux, containing news articles, observing notes and other information, and there's also free provision of the Astronomical Yearbook published by the Society. Access is available to telescopes on members' nights held regularly at the Melbourne Observatory and after monthly meetings, weather permitting. These instruments include the Society's 300mm equatorial reflector. There's a 300mm portable reflector, There's also a 200mm refractor managed by the Royal Botanic Gardens and a photoheliograph which are housed at the observatory and accessible to members as well. The Society also has a number of 200mm refractors available for short period loan to members wishing to try a telescope before they buy a concept. Regular Society Club Night meetings are held on the first and last Fridays of each month at the Lodge in Burwood. Society is properly located in Burwood. Members are encouraged to use the Society's instruments located there and to gain first-hand experience in telescope use. These instruments include a 508mm equatorial reflector and a number of smaller reflectors. Members are also encouraged to make use of the Society's country property located near Heathcote, some 90-minute drive north of Melbourne. There are a range of instruments available for members to use, the larger two only with appropriate training. These instruments range from 300mm to 1000mm in aperture. Also located on the site is an 8.5 metre radio telescope which members can access and get involved through involvement with the radio astronomy section. Members are encouraged to make and use telescopes. Advice and help on both matters are provided willingly to newcomers desiring to do the same. Instrument making is only one of the number of common interest activities catered for within the Society. Other areas of interest that members can participate in include deep sky observing, astrophotography, lunar and planetary observing, auroral, meteor, comet, radio astronomy, computing, cosmology and astrophysics, historical studies and research in astronomy in general. Contact details for various section directors are provided in the yearbook. Further information may be obtained by visiting the ASV website, and notifications of events are given in Crux Extra bulletins which are sent out on alternative weeks to members via email as a extra news bulletin compared to the monthly magazine. Please note that the ASV will conform to all government health directives. AFC events may be required to be cancelled, moved or postponed. You can write to the Secretary of the Astronomical Society Victoria, GPO Box 1059, Melbourne, Victoria 3001. That's the Secretary, Astronomical Society Victoria, GPO Box 1059, Melbourne, Victoria 3001. But the reference to the website there, all information can be gleaned from the ASV website at www.asv.org.au. And yes, everything can be found there. Alright, good evening to VK3AFB who's joined the chat room. Welcome to tonight's session. Alright, now just a bit of a plug for a book that arrived last week. I'm hoping at some stage in the future to get involved with astrophotography in a big way, but a lot of money has to be outlaid for that to occur at this stage. Probably the biggest part of that outlay will be getting the observatory done for the telescope to be housed, but I'm still trying to make up my mind whether to go with a dome or a roll-off concept. It's the cheapest, the roll-off roof, but roll-off roof sheds tend to take up twice the footprint, so it's a matter of making sure that you've got room for a roll-off roof. But the advantage there is that once you've rolled the roof back, the whole sky is above your head, and you can point the telescope at anywhere at a moment's notice sort of thing. Whereas with the dome observatory, you've got the traditional shutter slit in front of you, so if you want to look at some object in the sky, then you've got to move the dome correspondingly. But you get maximum shield from weather in such a dome. But I would like a dome because that's traditionally what an optical telescope would sit in. But it costs a few dollars for that. But astrophotography is something I think is the next step up from looking through a telescope at the stars. I mean, how many times can you look through a telescope at stars, which effectively all look the same? It's only the knowledge of that part of the sky that you're looking at that it means something to you. But to a person who's just starting out in astronomy, you can point the telescope at a star and say that's such and such a star, or such and such a part of a constellation, but it really is just a bunch of stars in the sky. And I think to go beyond that is to do photography, because that's where the jewels in the sky are. And I think once you've mastered sticking a camera on your telescope and taking some pictures, and it's not necessarily that easy, but I think that's where looking at the sky is, taking pictures of deep sky objects that you can't normally see. You can't see with your own eyes, but just given a few minutes of exposure on some film, or in this case electronic camera, digital camera, and I am constantly blown away with some of the images that come from our astrophotographers. These are people that have spent a lot of money, I must admit, and a lot of time with a lot of trial and error to get these pictures. Some folks out there are using mobile phones to get pictures of objects in the sky, and quite successfully. But if you really want to bring out the detail and clarity in some of these images, one has to spend a little bit more money on really high quality digital cameras that have low noise, and then of course it's the processing after that, and that's all part of the fun of it, I think, is watching an image that you can't see from your eyes, natural eye, but an image that comes to fruition on the computer screen, and then you can print that out in full colour and stick it up on the wall. Anyway, having said all that, I'm wasting time. This book here, which if you're watching YouTube, you'll see it. But this is a fairly new publication. It's by Chris Woodhouse, and it's called The Astrophotography Manual, a practical and scientific approach to deep sky imaging. It's about 1 inch thick. As you can see there on the screen, it's 1 inch thick. To use the imperial. That's one thing about being an astronomer and having a telescope, whether it be radio or optical. You're always jumping from imperial to metric measurements, so get over it. So the preference of this is the Astrophotography Manual, 2nd edition, mind you, so I've only got the 2nd edition here, is for photographers ready to move beyond standard SLR cameras and editing software to create beautiful images of nebulas, galaxies, clusters and the stars. Beginning with a brief astronomy primer, this book takes readers through the full astrophotography process, from choosing and using equipment to image capture, calibration and processing. This combination of technical background and hands-on approach brings the science down to earth with practical methods to ensure success. There's 107 pages, content 600 full-colour illustrations, coverage of wide range of hardware including smartphones, tablets, remote control and latest technologies. Further insights into leading software such as Sequence Generator Pro and PixInsight. Groundbreaking practical chapters on hardware and software, as well as alternative astrophotography pursuits. Chris Woodhouse was born in England, and during his teenage years was a keen amateur photographer. So yeah, sometimes it starts young for these guys. I mean, most of us ham radio operators started young. So he's got an engineering degree in electronics at Bath University, and he designed communication and optical gauging equipment before joining an automotive company. He obviously played around with a lot with monochrome at some point, Royal Photographic Society, and yep, I won't go on, but there it is. It's called the Astrophotography Manual. That's it on the screen there if you're watching YouTube, and that's it. It's a really beautiful publication, and it smells like a book. I love the smell of a new book. Okay, so there it is. I thought I'd give that a plug. On ya, Chris. All right. So at some stage in the future, when I get my telescope set up and cameras attached, I'll be, if I'm still doing this session on a Friday night, I will talk about the pros and cons of astrophotography as well, give you insights about what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right, and put up on screen some of the images. And of course, one of the things I hope to do once I get the telescope set up and a camera attached is a live feed, to run a live feed over the YouTube stream, but more importantly over Melbourne Television Repeater. That's the number one thing I want to do, is to run those images through Melbourne TV Repeater. That's where the main interest is there. Alright. 17 minutes past the hour already. Okay, so you're tuned to ASV Radio. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel. Any reports tonight, please send signal reports to vk3ekh@gmail.com. vk3ekh@gmail.com. And good evening to Andrew, VK3KIS. He's sent an email listing on 80 metres this evening. Armchair copy, not a problem at all. Okay, now my next article, thing I'm going to talk about, let's see if we can just get this right. I'll leave that till maybe towards the end. Okay, a little bit of an update on the James Webb Telescope. Most recently complete telescope alignment over all instrument fields of view. Status, it's ongoing at this stage. After the fine phasing step 5, the telescope will be well aligned at one place in the NIR cam, near infrared cam, perhaps field of view. Now we need to extend the alignment to the rest of the instruments. In this phase of the commissioning process, we make measurements at multiple locations or field points across each of the science instruments, as shown below in the page that I'm looking at here. More variation in intensity indicates larger areas at the field point. An algorithm calculates the final corrections needed to achieve a well-aligned telescope across all science instruments. Now that's just a very brief little rundown of what's currently happening with James Webb, but I do have a little video there courtesy of NASA, so I'll see if I can just cue that up here. Where are we? That's that. Okay, now it only goes for 3 minutes, but my recommendation is, if you haven't got YouTube running, you can view the YouTube channel on your mobile phone. Easy enough. It works perfectly well. So I tune in to go to the ASV website, just the Astronomical Society of Victoria. You'll find the homepage there. Go across to where it says Radio Astronomy on the top line. It depends. Actually, on a mobile phone, it does it a bit differently. I find that the legend or whatever appears down the screen on the vertically down. So it's a matter of looking for Radio Astronomy tab and clicking on that, and you'll find the link to the YouTube channel via the ASV, via the ASV radio broadcast under the Radio Astronomy tab. Otherwise, the other solution is just to go to YouTube and type in VK3CSJ and look for the live feed as we speak. That's probably the easiest thing. Just go to YouTube, use the YouTube search engine, write VK3CSJ and look for the live stream as we speak. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel. Now let me see if I can get this feed up. I can do that straight away, but I've got to make sure the audio is going to work. So let me just do this. What is that?
Very first diffraction limited images that came out of the Webb telescope. And what we collectively saw as a group is we have the highest resolution infrared images taken from space ever. So you think of it as a blob on a picture, but it is extremely high resolution. We have exceeded every expectation. The telescope has performed better than the models said it should. We've even achieved, we talk about resolution and wavefront quality. We've done better in those regards than we thought we would do, and we're just thrilled to death. And to get there, we went through a process. Well, we did the segment identification, and then we formed the image array. And then once they were in the image array, we used this phase retrieval technology to position each of the mirror segments and the secondary mirror itself such that all the optical aberrations were effectively eliminated. We tilt the mirror segments to bring the light from each mirror so that it falls on top of each other at a common point in the middle of the detector. And we call that image stacking. And that concentrates all the light in a single place, but the images, the segments themselves are not cooperating. They're not working together at that point. They're all their own individual telescope. And the next phase in the process is something we call coarse phasing. And that's where we adjust, literally it's the piston. It's the up and down motion of the mirror segments relative to each other. We control the piston. We got together and looked at the very first diffraction limited images that came out of the Webb telescope. And what we collectively saw as a group is we have the highest resolution infrared images taken from space ever. So you think of it as a blob on a picture, but it is extremely high resolution. We have exceeded every expectation. The telescope has performed better than the models said it should. We've even achieved, we talk about resolution and wavefront quality. We've done better in those regards than we thought we would do, and we're just thrilled to death. And to get there, we went through a process. Well, we did the segment identification, and then we formed the image array. And then once they were in the image array, we used this phase retrieval technology to position each of the mirror segments and the secondary mirror itself such that all the optical aberrations were effectively eliminated. We tilt the mirror segments to bring the light from each mirror so that it falls on top of each other at a common point in the middle of the detector. And we call that image stacking. And that concentrates all the light in a single place, but the images, the segments themselves are not cooperating. They're not working together at that point. They're all their own individual telescope. And the next phase in the process is something we call coarse phasing. And that's where we adjust, literally it's the piston. It's the up and down motion of the mirror segments relative to each other. We control the piston of the segments so that they all come together in creating a complete monolithic primary mirror. If you know exactly what the shape of that telescope is, and you know exactly how the light is falling on your detector, it turns out that you can actually prove mathematically that that is enough information to tell you exactly what you need to do to that telescope to fix the alignment errors. And why do we know this? We know this because of something called a pupil imaging lens. And this allows us to take a picture of the primary mirror of the telescope. People have referred to it as a selfie. Right? Well, that's what it is actually. But that's really important mathematically. Now, there's a catch, however. Just because you know a solution to something exists does not automatically give you that solution. And that is the difficult part. That's what we have spent 20 years working out. It's highly mathematical, uses something called Fourier analysis, but that's what we do, is we tease out those solutions and we find what we need to do to each optical element to achieve perfection. We then turn to a different way of doing phase retrieval across the entire aperture of the telescope at the same time. And for that, we're not going to take the telescope out of focus. Instead, we have some lenses that are in one of the science instruments that we use to automatically create a defocused image. And we look at these images and taken as a whole, then we can tell the last little bit of alignment errors that are in the telescope that we need to fix. And that's what we accomplished today. We analyze those images and we apply the corrections leading to the diffraction limit of the perfect performance of the telescope. So there's only one thing left to do, and that's to see how well the telescope is aligned in the other science instruments. And we'll check the alignment there, And if necessary, then we'll apply a solution that optimizes for the entire telescope. We then periodically measure the alignment of the telescope and make corrections as necessary. I cannot wait to see what it discovers.
This is VK3EKH. Apologies for the slight like a vision. I'm not really sure why the video didn't go across, but I had to manually do it. Well, normally I do manually do it anyway, but for some reason the vision at first didn't. I was so occupied making sure the audio was right that I didn't see for some reason the vision hadn't gone across. But we did that, and we just repeated it. So if the audio sounded like you heard it all before, it's only because I decided to just go back and rewind and repeat that a little bit. It only goes for 3 minutes, but yeah, courtesy of NASA. Thanks NASA for that little bit of information about the current situation with our James Webb Telescope up there, which is already blowing scientists away with the results that's coming through thus far. It really is going to be amazing once they finally get that sorted out. Alrighty then, you're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH. Good evening to Roberto, VK3XRA, who's joined the list there that I can see. Alright, now next on the agenda, I'm going to mention something. Oh yes, okay. Oh yes, okay, right. Yes. Okay, there was an article I was going to, just a quick article about the alignment going on with the James Webb Telescope, apart from the video. But what I might do is, it's only a short one, it's actually on the NASA site. NASA Webb reaches alignment milestone, optics working successfully. Following the completion of critical mirror alignment steps, NASA James Webb Telescope team expects the Webb optical performance will be able to meet and or exceed the science goals of the observatory, which was built to achieve. I'll just take these headphones off because it's a bit distracting. Okay, that's better. My ears can breathe. So, as the article here says, on March 11, the Webb team completed the stage of alignment known as fine phasing. At this key stage in the commissioning of Webb's optical telescope element, every optical parameter that has been checked and tested is performing at above expectations. The team also found no critical issues and no measurable contamination or blockages to the Webb's optical path. The observatory is able to successfully gather light from distant objects and deliver it to its instruments without an issue. Although there are months to go before Webb ultimately delivers its new view of the cosmos, achieving this milestone means the team is confident that Webb's first of its kind optical system is working as well as possible. More than 20 years ago, the Webb team set out to build the most powerful telescope that anyone has ever put into space and come up with the audacious optical design to meet demanding science goals, said Thomas Zubakin, Associate Administrator for NASA's Science and Mission Directorate in Washington. He says, "Today we can say that the design is going to deliver." While some of the largest ground-based telescopes on Earth use segmented primary mirrors, Webb is the first telescope in space to use such a design. The 21-foot 4-inch or 6.5 meter primary mirror, much too big to fit inside a rocket fairing, is made up of 18 hexagonal beryllium. I can't say it. I can say it. Beryllium. I can't say it, it's not coming off the tongue. Mirror segments. It had to be folded up for launch and then unfolded into space before each mirror was adjusted to within nanometers to form a single mirror surface. Beryllium, that's what I was trying to think of. In addition to enabling the incredible science that Webb will achieve, the team has designed, built, tested and launched and now operate this observatory and have pioneered a new way to build space telescopes. I'll leave that article there. It goes on for a bit more, but otherwise the James Webb is performing to spec, and let's just hope that it continues to do so for a while to come. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH. Now this is an interesting article, not quite astronomical, but it's geoscience, and I saw this today on sciencealert.com, and I thought this could be an interesting thing. So I'm just going to hark on this for a little bit, and I've got one image to bring up on YouTube for that. I'll do this to bring up my audio again. Okay. Now, what we have here is a failure to communicate. No, sorry, that was something else. Radical plan to make Earth's deepest hole could unleash limitless energy. 9th of March 2022. Since its launch in 2020, a pioneering energy company called Quasi, Quaise, Quasi, I suppose that's how you pronounce that, has attracted some serious attention for its audacious goal of diving further into Earth's crust than anyone has dug before. Following the closure of the first round venture capital funding, the MIT spin-off has now raised a total of $63 million US, a respectable start that could potentially make geothermal power accessible to more populations around the world. The company's vision for getting closer to the center of the Earth is to combine conventional drilling methods with a megawatt power flashlight inspired by the kind of technology that could one day make nuclear fusion energy possible. Geothermal energy has become the forgotten renewable, with solar and wind increasingly dominating the market of green energy. Efforts to tap the vast reservoir of heat deep beneath our feet remain stubbornly well behind. It's not hard to understand why. Despite being a perfectly good choice of clean, uninterrupted limitless power, there are very few places where hot rocks suitable for geothermal energy extraction sit conveniently close to the surface. Quasi aims to change that by developing a technology that will allow us to bake holes in the crust to record depths. To date, our best efforts of chewing our way through the crust's skin, or the planet's skin, have bottomed out at around 12.3 kilometers, 7.6 miles. While the Koala Super Deep Borehole and others like it may have reached their limit, though they nonetheless represent amazing feats of engineering, to push further we'd need to find ways to grind away at material squeezed by dozens of kilometers of overhead rock, and then cart it back up to the surface. Digging tools would also need to still be able to grind rock at temperatures exceeding 180 degrees Celsius. Turning the drill bits over such a long distance would also need some clever thinking. One potential alternative is to the above obstacles to drill less and burn more. Born out of nuclear fusion research at MIT Plasma Science and Fusion Center, Quasi's solution is to use millimeter-long waves of electromagnetic radiation that force atoms to melt together. Devices called gryotrons can efficiently churn out continuous beams of electromagnetic radiation by shaking electrons at high speed inside powerful magnetic fields. By hooking a megawatt power gyrotron up to the latest in cutting tools, Quasi expects to be able to blaze its way through the toughest, hottest rock down to depths of around 20 kilometers in a matter of months. At these depths, the heat of surrounding rock can hit temperatures of around 500 degrees Celsius, enough to transform any liquid water pumped down there into a vapor-like supercritical state that's perfect for generating electricity. Using its seed and investment funding, Quasi anticipates having field deployable devices providing proof of concept operations within the next 2 years. If all goes well, it could have a working system producing power up by 2026. By 2028, the company hopes to be able to take over old coal-fueled power stations, transforming them into facilities powered by steam instead. It's a technology at once so old and yet so novel, we're bound to have plenty of questions on how and whether it might ever succeed. Lucky for us, Loz Blaine over at New Atlantis has listed a bunch of them for Quasi's CEO and co-founder Carlos Aquiu to answer. Even without this technology, roughly 8.3% of the world's energy could come from geothermal source. supplying around 17% of the world's population. Close to 40 nations could rely completely on geothermal energy right now. Yet currently less than half of a percent of the world's electricity is provided by the heat beneath our feet. To remain on track for net zero emissions by 2050, geothermal energy should be growing at around 13% each year. Right now, its expansion is a mere fraction of that. That leaves a lot of room to grow, and even if you don't find a way to expand its reach, whether companies like Quasi will help invigorate interest, this underdog is left to be seen. What's certain, though, is that time to cut emissions and cap global warming to something less than catastrophic is rapidly shrinking. We're hitting rock bottom, so maybe it's time for us to dig a little deeper. So, now I had something else on that side of things as too. Let me just go back to me. There we are. You're tuned to ASV Radio VK3EKH. They made reference to the Koala Super Deep Borehole. This is located in Russia, and that particular borehole at Koala Super Deep, it's now it's been abandoned and closed, and the hole's been covered over. But the drilling began in May 1970 at this particular place, and it got to a depth of about 15,000 meters. That's what it says here at least. I'm just trying to skip a few things here to make it quick. The Koala Super Deep Borehole penetrated about a third of the way through the Baltic Shield continental crust. It's estimated to be around 35 kilometers deep. Now, the other interesting thing here was a lot of this drilling had been stopped due to lack of funds, and but they did get down to a point where drills basically failed because it got too hot. And there was an interesting little statement here. Where was it? They were saying that at these depths, cutting through rock turns into a kind of a paste, a liquid paste of some sort, and drilling techniques to continue drilling have to be invented to be able to continue going further into the crust. But there are attempts to continue with this need to drill as deep as we can into the crust of the earth, and maybe to the core. Well, we don't know. There's been a few science fiction films on that one. VK3EKH on 160 and 80 meters, and on YouTube stream. Okay, we have, if anybody wishes to send reports, the email address is VK3EKH@bigpond.com, VK3EKH@gmail.com, not Big Pond, gmail.com. Messed that up, didn't I? Alright, here's another thing that's recent, as of March 17 at least. It's pretty recent. NASA adds giant new dish to communicate with deep space missions. Let me bring up the picture of this dish. Okay, so there it is. There's a couple of other pictures I've got of it there too. There's another shot of it with obviously a group of officials standing in front of it, very proud of the dish. Here's another nighttime shot. Beautiful looking dish. Wish we had one here. But I'll now just run a quick 52-second, they claim 60 seconds, but it looks like about 52 seconds video of this. So watch your YouTube feed as we speak. There's no sound associated with this, so I'll make sure that the microphone is on. Oh yeah, there we go. So there we go. Alright. So there it is. Going to the article in question. There's a powerful new member of the capacity of the Deep Space Network, which acts as a kind of interplanetary switchboard. The new antenna is the... Oh, there's music there, is there? Oh, okay. Right. Second this footage. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just going to try and kill that. Alright. Sorry about that. I thought I checked that. I don't remember hearing any musical tones associated with that article, but maybe there was. Alright. Part of the ongoing project to grow the capacity of the Deep Space Network, which acts as a kind of interplanetary switchboard, the new antenna is part of the network's 14th. There's a powerful new member of NASA's family of giant antennas that enable engineers and scientists on the Earth to communicate with the growing number of spacecraft exploring our solar system. It's called Deep Space Station 53, or DSS-53. It's 101-foot, 34-metre antenna as part of the NASA's Deep Space Network, DSN. It's now operational at the network's facility just outside Madrid, one of the 3 such ground stations around the globe. The Madrid station is managed by NASA on behalf of Spain's Institute of Technical Aerospace, or International Institute of Aerospace Technology is another way of putting it. To mark the antenna's debut, King Philip of Spain attended the March 16th inauguration ceremony alongside NASA officials and dignitaries of Spain and the US. NASA is honoured and humbled to have a king acknowledge the important milestone, or kilometre stone, by joining us at the Madrid station. Just going to jump through this quickly. So this new antenna adds about 8% more capacity to the network. What is going to mean is 8% more science, which is really significant apparently, according to JPL's Bradford Arnold, the DSN project manager. DSS-53 will act as a workhorse antenna capable of communicating on frequencies most commonly used by NASA spacecraft. Its construction began in 2016, a complicated 2-year commissioning period, including a weeks-long process when engineers and technicians adjusted each of the dish's some 300 reflector panels, often as little as quarter turn of a screw to optimize performance. The new antenna allows the DSS-56 coming online in Spain in early 2021, making a Madrid facility the first to have completed its build-out as part of NASA's antenna enhancement effort. The 5th antenna in the effort, DS-23, is expected to go online at Goldstone in 2025. The 6th antenna will be at the Canberra facility. So yeah, there it is, and quite an amazing thing to watch, isn't it? And when the time lapse, it really does break down the barriers. Must have cost megabucks. Sorry about the music in the background. God, so anyway, that's another story. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH. Time is 15 minutes to 11. Alright, I think at this stage I might get our Space Weather Woman all ready to go. There's a couple other things I had there to go with, but I'll have to leave them to next week perhaps. Alright, let's queue up Space Weather and see what Tamitha has to report on today. Let's hope this goes without a hitch.
We have a big flare player, some fast solar wind, and a solar storm launch that might be partly Earth-directed. Those stories and more in the news this week. This space weather forecast is sponsored in part by Millersville University. Come get certified in broadcast space weather. Visit millersville.edu/SWEN. Space weather this week is getting very exciting. We have hardly calmed down from a big solar storm, and we've got another one to show you. As we take a look at the first frontside disk, you can see region 2965 continues to be a big flare player. It's been firing off like little paparazzi bulbs, big M-class flares. They haven't been firing any solar storms, but we're kind of keeping an eye on it. Not sure we're going to see much from it. But if you look just to the east of it, region 2967, whoosh, did you see that? It launches off a solar storm, and this one looks like it could be partly Earth directed. Early models are giving us an idea that we could get hit sometime around late on the 19th into the 20th, but we're still waiting to refine those models as of yet, so hold on to your hats. But Aurora photographers, you might be in for another little bit of a show, if you could believe that or not. Meanwhile, if we miss that, we do have a finger-like coronal hole that's going to be rotating into the Earth strike zone here, probably within the next maybe 5 days or so, and that's definitely going to bring us some fast solar wind, and that does mean more aurora chances for aurora photographers. So this is good news for you guys. Now, as we take a look at our far-sighted sun, this is stereo A, and it's looking at the sun just a little bit from the side. You can see there are a couple new regions being rotating into stereo's view. They'll be rotating into Earth view in a few days. That means we're going to continue to boost that solar flux and keep it in the triple digits, and that's great news for amateur radio operators and emergency responders, because that means radio propagation on Earth's day side will remain in the good range. Now, switching to our prediction model, Enlil, this is NASA's version of the model, and you're looking down at the sun from the North Pole with Earth being off to the right. And as we take a look, you can see that solar storm being launched. It looks like it's launched a bit to the east of Earth, but indeed the flank of this structure looks like it's going to hit Earth right around late on the 19th and early into the 20th. This means we could see a little bit of aurora. We'll definitely see it at high latitudes, but aurora photographers, even at mid latitudes, the Earth's shield has been pretty rattled lately with everything going on, so we could conceivably see a little bit more aurora, and that will set us up nicely for when that fast solar wind hits in about 3 days. Switching to our moon, we are passing through the full moon phase, and we're going to be on our way to a third quarter, and by the 23rd the moon will still be about 58% illuminated. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch those dim objects in the sky, I don't know, maybe like some aurora, you're going to have this bright companion to deal with, so you need to check your local rise and set times. Switching to your solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are anticipating the hit from that solar storm that was launched on the 16th. Now, this is going to be a glancing blow, so we're not expecting all that much, except for the fact that it could come maybe just a little bit ahead or maybe even a little bit behind that fast solar wind that's planning to hit us here in the next few days. So NOAA is expecting active conditions with up to about a 35% chance of a major storm. Now, mid-latitudes, we're really only expecting unsettled conditions, but we could have up to about 10% chance of a minor storm. It's really kind of hard to tell. It all depends upon whether or not this solar storm grazes us at all, grazes us early before that fast solar wind hits us, or grazes us after the fast solar wind hits us. So it's a little bit of a squishy forecast for you this week. But aurora photographers, nonetheless, even at mid-latitudes, you do get a small chance for aurora, but only if you're dedicated should you chase. This one might be a little bit on the, dim side. Switching to your solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week, we do have a few active regions on the Earth-facing disk this week. One of them indeed is a big flare player, and that's region 2965. As a matter of fact, NOAA's giving us about a 15% chance of M-class flares over the next few days, and this will probably last through the rest of the week as this region begins to rotate off of the west limb. That also means that we're getting a kind of a bit of a risk for radiation storms, because as that region rotates to the west limb, the chance for radiation storms also increases. Meanwhile, though, we don't have much else other than just some bright regions. They're not really all that flare active, but they are boosting that solar flux. We are definitely staying in the triple digits, and with new regions rotating into Earth view probably over the next couple days, we're likely going to maintain that and stay in triple digits, which means radio propagation on Earth's day side will stay in the green range, in the good range. So enjoy. Also, because we are are still climbing out of solar minimum. The cosmic ray flux is a little bit high. Plus, we have that small risk for a radiation storm. So just you frequent flyers, especially those who are an air crew who fly over 800 hours annually and fly at high latitudes and high altitudes, you are in the moderate range for radiation dose. Just kind of pay attention because we might get that additional risk with that radiation storm threat that we have right now over the rest of this week. And then after that, things should settle down. So the space weather this week is getting pretty exciting. We've already calmed down from a bit of a solar storm, and my goodness, we might have yet another one. We had a solar storm that was launched a bit to the east of Earth, but the nice thing is that that solar storm is actually coming right about the time that we're going to have some fast solar wind too. So it might come a little ahead, it might come a little bit behind, but nonetheless it should enhance the aurora possibilities right around the 19th and into the 20th. So aurora photographers at high latitudes, you're definitely going to get a show. At mid latitudes, well, you know, maybe you should chase if you're dedicated, but there's going to be bigger ones than this, so I wouldn't get too excited. Meanwhile, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, you guys are in good luck because we're continuing to stay in the triple digits when it comes to solar flux. This means radio propagation on Earth's day side is in the good range. Now we are getting some radio blackouts, just little teeny tiny ones. They're not really all that intense, but so that might cause a bit of noise on the bands. And you GPS users, well, you're the ones who are really kind of dealing with that right now, especially if you're near dawn or near dusk. Your GPS reception may be a little bit unreliable. So just keep that in mind. And if we end up getting some aurora from that solar storm right around the 19th and into the 20th, also know to stay away from aurora on Earth's night side. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
All right. Audio. Why is there no audio there? Should be audio. I can't see audio on HF. What is that? Alright. Wound up the wrong fader. Okay. VK3EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night news. Thank you, Tamitha, for the latest.
Audio on YouTube, no problem.
Thank you for the latest in the solar space weather. And although I'm trying to work out why there's a bit of a reverb on my audio feeds tonight. I'm not sure exactly why there is. I've been trying to analyse that without causing any upshot to the program, but there's just a funny little reverb on the two videos that I've played tonight, so I'm not too certain where that's coming from. But it's not apparent on the vocal here, so that's one thing, I suppose. Anyway, alright, it's 10:53, so I think I can probably squeeze in just one more item of interest. Let's have a quick look at how long that is. What about that one? It's about equal length. So these two articles I've been holding over for the last few weeks. Oh, okay, this will do. Yep. Okay, there is one more video to show. All right. Okay, that will do. All right. Let's hope this will run. Okay, get this queued up. This is to do with Artemis. I'll run this and then I'll go into a little bit more blurb on it, because I'm only going to show the introduction part of this. So look at your video YouTubes again, and just introduction, just to whet your appetites on what's coming up about Artemis, our next journey to the moon. Okay, let's hope this all goes fine. Oop, we'll do that in a minute. Stand by. Stations on HF.
Through Artemis, the twin sister of Apollo, we are returning to the moon. Artemis 1 will be the first flight test of each of these components. United together, this is the first of Artemis's arrows, capable of ushering in the next chapter of human lunar exploration. With each component playing its part in a grander effort, we, the people of the Artemis generation, all around this beautiful world, will bear witness to what we are capable of. Together, we are going back to the moon.
There we go. We are going back to the moon. So yeah, that's that was just an introduction to a video that goes for about an hour. But Cape Canaveral, Florida, the first mission in NASA's Artemis Moon program, is set to roll out to the launch pad today, March 17. More than 50 years after NASA's landed the first humans on the moon with the Apollo 11, the agency is gearing up to launch its next human lunar missions as part of the Artemis program. And the program's first mission, Artemis 1, will take a big step toward launch today, when the mission's rocket and spacecraft will roll out to the launch pad. Ahead of Artemis 1 launch, which is expected no sooner than May, NASA is rolling its Space Launch System SLS Mega Rocket and Orion spacecraft on the Giant Crawler Transporter 2, a CT2, to a pad 39B at the agency's Cape Kennedy Space Center here in Florida, or over there at least. To watch the rollout, you can tune in live right here at space.com at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or 2100 hours UTC, when the crawler makes its first move. You can also tune in directly to NASA TV, which would be probably the better thing to do. The live coverage will include live commentary, of course, from guests including NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. With the rollout, the crawler will start its journey at NASA's Vehicle Assembly Building. The vehicle weighs in the vicinity of 2.9 million kilograms, and it will carry the SLS and Orion, going about 1.3 kilometers an hour, covering 6.4 kilometers journey from the VAB to the launch pad, and then with the rocket and spacecraft on board, which will take the vehicle approximately 11 hours. The crawler has been in action for over 50 years. It was first designed to carry NASA's Saturn V rocket. If you've ever seen it up close, it's almost a phenomenal thing to have seen. I can just imagine. After today's rollout, Artemis 1 team members will work towards the mission, the wet dress rehearsal that they call it, and this is a test that is performed after a vehicle is at the launch pad. Currently, the wet dress rehearsal is expected to take place on April 3. Following this test, the mission team will spend 8 to 9 days conducting more tests with the SLS and Orion on the pad before rolling them back to the VAB to prepare for the official launch. Artemis 1 is an uncrewed mission, but it is an important step toward not just a crew launch, but a future lunar landing. The mission will test how well the SLS and Orion can complete a mission to the moon and back, as Artemis 1 will see Orion launched on a journey lasting about 26 days, covering some 450,000 kilometers from Earth, way up past the moon and then back to its home planet. The mission will ensure that SLS and Orion can safely ferry astronauts that far into space and back. Artemis 1 will be followed by Artemis 2, expected to launch in 2024, which will be a crewed mission that aims to send a team of astronauts around the moon and back. These missions will all lead up to Artemis 3, expected no earlier than 2025, which will land humans on the moon. And this will be the first human landing since NASA's final Apollo program landing in December of 1972. Almost 50 years ago today. Righto, so yes, lots of preparation and making sure that everybody and everything runs safely before you send humans back to the moon. Okay, you're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH. Spaceweather.com. The solar wind is currently at 322.7 kilometers a second at a density of 5.4 protons per cubic centimeter. There are two sunspots on the disk of the sun as we speak, AR 2967 and 2965. Sunspot AR 2965 has a beta-gamma magnetic field that harbours energy for an M-class solar flare, apparently. The radio sun, at a wavelength of 10.7 centimetres, has a flux of 107 solar flux units, 107. As Tamitha reported, a glancing blow possible today. Later today, March 17, US time, a CME will pass by Earth and might deliver a glancing blow to our planet's magnetic field. The weak impact will cause at most a minor G1 class geomagnetic storm that might be enough to spark auroras around the Arctic Circle. They also say here that on March 13, a CME coronal mass ejection did more than spark bright auroras. It also wiped out a lot of cosmic rays. Neutron monitors at the Sodankala Geophysical Observatory in Oulu, Finland, recorded a sharp drop in cosmic radiation just after the CME arrived. There's a nice little chart recording of it here. It's called the Forbush decrease. It's called the Forbush, F-O-R-B-U-S-H, Forbush decrease, named after the American physicist Scott Forbush, who studied cosmic rays in the early 20th century. It happens that when a coronal mass ejection swoops past Earth, it pushes galactic cosmic rays away from our planet. Radiation from deep space that would normally pepper the Earth's upper atmosphere is briefly wiped out. There's a nice little chart there of that. Going down the page, there's been some fireballs in America. In America they have a NASA all-sky camera, a series of cameras that monitor the sky for entries of meteors, fireballs that they refer to. There's been 5 fireballs recorded. And as far as near-Earth objects are concerned, as of March 18, 2022, there are 2,271 potentially hazardous asteroids. Most of them are being monitored, but sometimes get past radars. Anyway, enough of all that. It's now 3:11:03, so I shall conclude today's session. I hope everybody has found it of some value at least. I thought the geoscience one was interesting, with drilling down to great depths. One day we'll get to the core. But meanwhile, we'll have to deal with science fiction movies on that one. Sad to hear actor William Hurt has passed away. He's done quite a lot of good films in the past. One film that comes to mind straight away that I might watch a little bit later on tonight is Altered States, which was brought out or released in 1980, and William Hurt plays a scientist that's exploring the inner primeval being on a subconscious level, which manifests itself eventually by the end of the film in some pretty horrific ways. But it's a very interesting study in those exploring the depths of the human psyche, which, like I say, manifests in reality to affect William Hurt's character in a serious way. Altered States, 1980. So I've got that queued up to watch as soon as I'm finished here, in homage to William Hurt. Alrighty then, this is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, concluding transmissions tonight on 160 metres, 1865 kilohertz. There won't be any callback there, but we'll continue a callback on 80 metres as usual, so stations on 80 metres, please stand by. This is VK3 EKH. Further information on the Astronomical Society of Victoria can be found if you go to the ASV website at www.asv.org.au, and not this weekend, but next weekend, is the Messier Star Party. And I believe tickets are still available for folks. You just go to the homepage, you'll find out all the information about the Messier Star Party. I may not be going to this one myself, I just don't know at this stage, but I think the price of petrol's got something to do with it. Anyway, okay, this is VK3EKH concluding transmission on 1865. Thanks for listening. Those stations on 160, thank you for listening. Alright, stations on 160. Let me take the headphones out. I've just realised I've still got headphones on. Get rid of those. Now I can hear. Alright. So I think everything else is going okay. This is VK3EKH listening on 3541 for any stations wishing to check in.
VK3 Juliet Romeo. VK3 HDX.
Okay, it's a few stations doubled there. VK3JR and VK3HDX. Any other stations?
VK3TJR.
Okay, VK3 DJX was there. I've got VK7JAH there. I got you there, Martin. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And the station before that, VK3 DJX was it? Can you try that again? Oh, sorry. Yeah, just repeat that again.
Yeah, 693 Tango and Juliet Sierra Jack Chaplin.
Good on you, Jake. Yep, sorry about that. Okay. Anybody else? VK3 KH. Alright, Ian, VK3 VIN. Alright. I'm all over the place, I can feel it. Is there any other stations? VK3 KH.
VK3 Bravo Quebec.
Aha, we missed you last week. Okay, VK3 Bravo Quebec. Alright, we'll leave it at that for the moment. To you there, Frank, VK3JR, VK3EKH.
VK3EKH, VK3JR, good evening, Quit. Good evening, Ian, good evening, Andrew, and good evening, everyone else. Really good broadcast, very interested in that showing. Really, and I would like Tanavan. She's always hardy. So, nothing special to report here. Really, my complaint, no space weather. VK3EKH, VK3JR.
What was that last comment? No space weather?
Correct.
You mean to say that there was about 8 minutes of dead air?
No, I don't think you read out anything from the space weather situation.
Oh, okay. No, I did. Or did I? Pretty sure I did. In fact, it's right in front of me. The screen is still open. Yeah, I did. I read out the latest spaceweather.com. So as soon as I finished talking about Artemis, I think I went straight across to spaceweather.com. So I talked about a glancing blow possible today, and CME wipes out cosmic rays, the solar wind, the radio sun, even mentioned the potential for hazardous asteroids. So you didn't hear any of that, Frank?
Apologies, I was distracted. Sorry about that, Chris. I wonder, would you mind repeating the figures, the sunspot number and the index?
Yeah, no worries, Frank. VK3JR, VK3EKH returning. Alright, no problems at all. At the moment, there are 2 sunspots on the disk of the sun. 2 sunspots that are showing up here on Space Weather. The current sunspot number is 41. I didn't actually say that, but the current sunspot number so far to date is 41. But as we speak, there are 2 sunspots on the disk of the sun. The radio sun is at a solar flux of 107 solar flux units. There's reports of a possible G1 class geomagnetic storm coming up. So they say later today, this is US time, later today there'll be a CME will pass by the Earth, giving a glancing blow to our planet's magnetic field, which could cause a few traumas to the ionosphere. And there's also a record of a CME on March 13 that caused a reduction in cosmic rays, and that was charted on a chart recorder. And as we speak, there is 2,271 potentially hazardous asteroids. So there you have it in a nutshell. No worries, Frank. Glad to oblige on that one. It's been a bit of a funny room in here today. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I've been mucking around with extra monitor here in the shack, and the ATV repeater isn't going. That threw me a little bit. And of course, what I have been trying to work out is why there's been a slight echoey reverb on the audio, which has been annoying me actually. So I've been a bit distracted with that. I think it's got something to do with the way Windows is set up at the moment, rather than anything else going on here in the shack. But that's another story. Across to you there, Don. I hope everything was picked up okay at your location. VK3HDX, VK3EKH.
VK3EKH and the group VK3HDX. And good evening, Clint. Good evening, everyone. Great broadcast tonight, Clint. Everything was fine here. Great pictures on the YouTube channel. Really good content tonight. I really enjoyed all the different articles. I'm not really sure about this drilling down into the Earth's crust though. Worries me a little bit. But and that vision of the dish being built in 60 seconds was pretty good. Yeah. No, really interesting tonight. Thank you for the effort you go to. And we'll be back again next week. VK3EKH and the group VK3HDX.
Yeah, not a problem, Don. Excuse me. There's a couple of people that I follow on YouTube that it's not a podcast, but they have a single video camera, and for maybe about anywhere between 15 to maybe 20 minutes they do a video blog of what they've been up to, and they take the camera with them, and one might think that the person's got a camera crew of some sort that's following them. But no, both the bloke and the young girl that all do it with a mobile phone. They just use a mobile phone or a GoPro camera, and they do all the filming. They get hours and hours of video footage, and then they edit it all down to what's just the interesting bits. And of course, people just don't realise that for an individual, some of the work they go through to produce these interesting YouTube videos, that there's a lot of them out there. Of course, we all know that YouTube's absolutely brimming with things like this, but there's just a couple of people that I find interesting to follow. That's not to say that I'm, even though I go to YouTube myself here with the stream, I know I've only got about 3 people that watch, so it's nothing compared to some of these people that make their living off YouTube. Actually, I'm not. Maybe I should do that anyway. Thanks, Don. No worries. Thanks for the comments. Across to Jack. Haven't heard you for a while, Jack. VK3TJS Shepparton, VK3EKH.
VK3EKH, this is VK3TJS. Good evening to you, Ken, and thank you everyone that's joined in. And yeah, you did. And I was trying to get earlier nights, but yeah, some of them I know stay up and listen to the broadcast, join in a little bit later, not straight from the beginning. And quite interesting and very long receivable. Yeah, you're hearing about earlier over here in Shepparton, and just perfect. I think the whole night was really good for the head chef, and we've had a couple of other nets before, so it was quite good. So yeah, thanks for running in, and yeah, hopefully I'll catch up with you next time. And I remember one night I joined in, but I tried different radio, which at this frequency was cutting down my signal because the GSWO wasn't quite right there. So you probably didn't hear me very well. But yeah, thanks very much, and hope you have a good weekend. And yeah, the petrol price is hurt for sure, and I like people thinking twice about going some distance. Have a good night, VK3EKH. This is VK3TJS.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. VK3TJS Shepard and VK3EKH. Good signal from you. You're hovering about 15 to 20 over 9, so just some very, very gentle QSB around tonight, so not doing too bad at all. But okay, I'm having some antenna problems there, so yeah, if you did try to call in, I probably wouldn't have heard you. The band has been a bit up and down over the last few weeks, but mind you, there has been some good signals around, so all's okay. But thanks, Jack. Thanks for calling in. Good to hear you again. Across to Martin down in Tasmania, VK7JAH, VK3 EKH.
Good broadcast, thank you very much. A really good commitment tonight. Yeah, very, very clear. I'm hearing everybody else as well, which has got all the case. But nevertheless, very, very good and doing rather well. I listened on 160 very briefly, or a little bit noisy. Are you going to get over?
Good on you, Martin. VK7JH, VK3EKH. Very good. Good to see that I'm being picked up down there on the 160 meter band. I'm running around the 400 watt mark on 160, but it's a vertical antenna. I'm running into a vertical type antenna, so if I can get my my dipole repaired, I might come up on the dipole one Friday night and see how what difference that makes to a few things. But yeah, okay. Thanks for the reports there, Martin, and good to see I'm getting down there on of course 80 meters too. You're just above the noise floor. I've got about hang on a second, let me check. Yeah, it's just below S9 noise floor, and you're just above that. So my kingdom for a quiet location, but that would probably never happen. Across to Ian, VK3VIN, VK3EKH. How are you, Ian?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Clint, VK3EKH, VK3VIN, and you have an email sitting there from me. And I did miss a chunk of the broadcast for unforeseen circumstances. But what I did hear was terrific, starting with information about Artemis and the space weather. And I thought the echo on the audio was multi-passing. Now it turns out that there was some multi-passing on both 80 and 160 metres, but there was the audio that you referred to on the from your QTH, but there was another bit of multi-passing that sounded a bit auroral, but there weren't any of the other auroral sounds about it. Anyway, but not much phasing tonight, and the general QSB that was the RF equivalent of cruising across the heads in Manly in Sydney on a ferry on a lovely calm night with a gentle easterly breeze. That do things to you, Clint? Oh dear. No, just a gentle rocking and rolling of QSB. So it's quite tranquil. An interesting aspect of the broadcast was the dramatic increase in signal strength on 80 metres, peaking at strength 9. So whether it was, streaks 8 to 9 anyway. So whether it was just conditions or I was going to ask you if you had done anything on at 160 metres to cause that. But if not, there was an increase in the signal strength, which is a good sign from your vertical aerial. 20 to 30 over 9 on 80, and good broadcast, always enjoy it. And listening to Tamitha is always a joy. Still think she'd make a good race caller. VK3 VKH, VK3 VIN.
Yeah, no worries, Ian. VK3 VIN, Kangaroo Flat, VK3 VKH returning. No, look, the only difference with the both HF stations in the last few weeks, Ian, has been the fact that I've reintroduced the linear amplifiers. I've only been running barefoot from the two ICOM radios here for a while, but I've managed to get the PTT lines sorted out, and which means I can now use them. So yeah, so I'm running up to about 400 watts from both linears with a reasonable success, and I think that's really helped lift the signals from the 100 watts. So that's all I can really say is where the improvement is there. But if I can repair like I said, if I can repair the half-wave dipole that I've got for 160, it's not high enough really, but if I can get that fixed up, I'll one Friday I'll do an experiment and I'll just run the transmission off the dipole and see if that makes any difference to you guys. Thanks, Ian. It's yeah, I can understand you thinking about maybe the slight echo or reverb being auroral, because it's kind of creates that effect, doesn't it? But no, that's in-house. It's generated in-house, and I think I know why. Because I usually have the audio, one of the audio features selected for the TV transmitter, for the ATV transmission, and because the TV transmitter isn't going, actually looking at it, it is going. I've had the TV transmitter running all this time and I didn't know it. Well, there you go. So anybody watching Simplex would have had good Simplex views of my transmission on 1255. Now that I think about it, I can actually hear the fan running. I didn't really notice it. So I've been actually transmitting on ATV all this time, not really being seen by anybody. But if you had it tuned 1255 GVBS, you would have seen me. So I can only think of two people in this immediate location that would have seen that picture, but they probably didn't realise it. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, look, it's Andrew's turn. He's right at the bottom of the list here, and last week we missed him, so he's shown up again. VK3 Bravo Quebec. Have to say, Andrew, if you're still there, VK3 EKH.
VK3 EKH in the group. Good evening, everyone. VK3 Bravo Quebec. Not mobile this week. I was driving. We actually had just arrived at Bright in our accommodation. And I had to get the kids who are in the back of the car half asleep into the Airbnb that we had turned up at. So I disappeared. It wasn't anything your end. I sort of popped up to check in, and I think you're having trouble hearing me. I said check in only, but I don't think you're hearing me. Anyway, thank you for the broadcast tonight. I was getting the radio going. It's the John Moyle Field Day, so we're going up to the EMVRC Club contest site tomorrow morning for HF, VHF, UHF, and I was setting up the radio at home so the 14-year-old can give us some contacts and points, and I had it on and I thought I'd listen and call in. So thank you for running it, and yeah, everybody's nice and strong into Melbourne. VK3 EKH, VK3 Bravo Quebec. Thanks, Ben.
Good on you, Andrew. VK3 Bravo Quebec, VK3 EKH returning. Good signal from you. You're 20 over 9, and far cry from last week. I could hear you there. I made out your call sign, but I gathered that you arrived at destination, so that's okay. But good signal tonight. Okay, on the field day activity coming up this weekend, I'll see if I can listen out for the field day activity and come up with a number and say g'day. Out of interest, Andrew, do you know what the Eastern Mountain District Club are doing for their TV repeater? I know the EMDRC have got a dedicated TV transmitter that's, of course, worked okay when the repeater was up at Olinda. But now that the repeater's at Mount View, behind the Police Academy, I haven't seen any attempts VK3R back up on TV. So, do you know if there's any story there at this stage over?
We had to repoint the antenna, and I understand Jack has made that happen. But there was a comment that something still wasn't right. So. A lot of that is basically been we haven't really had an event at the club for 2 years with COVID and rules and access and restrictions. So I guess talk to Jack. He has actually been attempting to get it going again and did re-point the antenna, but there was a comment that that work happened, but there was something else that needed to occur. So it's still there. It's still all ready to go, and over, I guess, the next month or so, when they're starting to get back into the club rooms. February, it was closed for, the council did some refurbishment to it, so we didn't have access. But from now on, there's a barbecue there tomorrow, lunchtime, if anybody wants to pop down. You don't have to be a club member. If you're not, going to the contest. It's sort of the first opening we've had really publicly this year. So, Jack's up contesting with us, McLaughlin's, but I guess over the next couple of weeks they'll make an effort to fire it up, and I'll ask him tomorrow when I see him at the contest site. Sorry for hogging it. VK3, EKH, VK3, BQ.
No, that's fine, Andrew. I asked the question, so she's fine. It's not a problem at all. That's good. All right. Well, look, I might fire a question off at Jack and see if we can get what the latest is. He should be aware that the repeater has been currently the repeater's off air, but it'll probably be back online tomorrow. But Peter's VK3 BFG has now changed configuration a little bit on R2V1 to make it a little bit easier for the stations out northeast to also come up on the repeater, whereas before it might have been a bit problematic. But no, we're just missing seeing the likes of all you guys, Jack, Rolf, and Damien. Those three key players that will make up the Eastern Mountain District Radio Club's TV system. So, looking forward to seeing you guys back up on the repeater. That's for sure. Anyway, thanks, Andrew, and we'll look out for you over the weekend. Like I said, hopefully we'll get a few numbers being thrown about. Anyway, thanks, mate. Good to hear you. Excellent stuff. And okay, on the barbecue too. That sounds lovely. I'm in the diet mode at the moment, so I can't have anything like that, I'm afraid. Trying to lose some weight. I love a decent, bit of steak and sausage. That would be nice. Okay, I'll take one more listen and then we'll conclude. VK3 EKH listening on 3541.
VK3 Golf Lima. And the next comment from me too, please.
And 3VAT as well, you can put me down in the log.
Okay, now VK3GL and VK3VIN I think wants to make just a further comment, and VK3VAT. What I'll do is I'll pop across to Graham. First, VK3GL, VK3EKH.
Okay, very good. They're correct. VK3EKH and the check-in group VK3GL. They're very pleasant. Good evening to you there, Clint, and everyone else who's called in. Unfortunately, at the time of originally wanting to check in,
got caught up with something here at work, so I wasn't able to do so. And it also, work-wise tonight, was pretty busy most of the evening, and I haven't been able to manage to catch up with too much of the broadcast, although I was listening to as much as I possibly could in the headset and watching the YouTube stream. So thanks very much for the provision of the broadcast this evening there, Clint, for sure. Everything almost interesting, and I was actually hoping, the bit that I really missed out on was the space with article towards the end to see what was happening there. During the start of the week, I think it was, when was it? It would have been Tuesday and Wednesday. HF band conditions were quite good, and there was a fair amount of activity, solar activity. And on Wednesday afternoon, I think I worked over about something like 130 stations or something, in about 2.5 hours or 3 hours on 6 metres of all things. Lots of JAs managed to work South Korea as well as China for the first time. But a lot of those contacts, about 100 of them were FT8 contacts, and about 35 or so of the contacts were sideband voice contacts. I will send you a little quick snippet that I took on my phone of a pile-up of activity that I had. Signals were a good, 20 over 9 or something like that, so she was pretty active. And interesting, the next day, virtually nothing, just nothing. So it goes to show you how sometimes these solar peaks can be quite short and sharp. Anyway, there we go. So thanks for doing the broadcast there, Clint, and as we always say, we might catch up with you on the weekend. But if I don't, I will be down your way on Monday, and I might drop in and show you that red vehicle of ours, because I've got to go down to Berwick to get a couple of things sorted out with it, but I might just pop in and say hello. Back over here, VK3EKH on the YouTube stream, VK3GL.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. VK3GL, VK3EKH. That's excellent for 6 metres. I know I've got the antenna here. It's connected to one of the radios, but honestly, I'm not really monitoring a whole lot of the VHF side of this, the station at the moment. So, but it is that time of the year for EASE and Tropo and all sorts of other interesting phenomena that sends 50 meg signals over the horizon. But it sounds like you had a good time. I think you said 130 odd stations, so it's pretty good going for 6 metres. But that's the way it works. One day activity, and the next it's all very quiet. So it sounds very good indeed. Yeah, we should be here Monday. I don't think anything's happening on Monday, so not a problem if the weather is good for driving around. All right, thanks, Greg. Good to hear, and yeah, excellent stuff. I'll bring up Ian, VK3VIN, just in case you wanted to ask something. VK3VIN, VK3EKH.
Yeah, thanks, Clint. VK3EKH, VK3VIN. I just wanted to let you know that practically every day this week I have been receiving notifications in my notification screen that say astronomy, the ASB broadcast is on air live. Now it's a once a day thing, and it says, it mentions your call sign and that you are on the air live. Now I haven't bothered to check it out, but it is there, and it's one notification every day. So not sure what's happening there. Could be a YouTube fault, or I wonder if there's something that isn't turning off somewhere. Anyway, It says that the Astronomy Society of Victoria broadcast, and it's got your call sign and that you are live. So just thought you might like to know that that's happening because it is persistent. VK3EKH, VK3VIN.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Sorry, Tony. Ian, VK3VIN, VK3EKH. Yeah, I wasn't too sure where you were heading with that, but now I know. Yes, look, I think the problem's been fixed. Although maybe, Richard, you can see if there is another secondary YouTube thing happening. There shouldn't be. I think we kind of sorted that out. Maybe not. But yeah, it's been discovered that there's a looped YouTube channel thing happening. I don't know why that is exactly. There's nothing running here. Like when I stop the stream here, it stops. But there's some quirky thing with YouTube and my channel that has a portion that it's looped, and
Not so good, only a single stream.
okay, I've been told there's only the one stream happening at the moment, so we should be okay. And as soon as I shut this stream off in just a few moments, it should all disappear. So I don't know what it exactly is. The only thing I can think of is that maybe in recent times I've been activating the stream just to check on a few things to see if things are working okay. Whatever, might be just doing some quick tests, which would send out a notification. But otherwise, the issue that we have had with the looped stream is I think we've got that sorted out. So it really shouldn't be happening at this stage. So yeah, keep us abreast of that if it continues. It might just be something else that's happening that I need to investigate. I don't know. It's a strange one. YouTube's a strange beast, just like Facebook. Anyway, thanks, Ian. Tony, did you want to have a quick say, Mr. VAT, VK3VAT, VK3EKH?
Broadcasting. I have noticed there is a lot of lag between HF and YouTube. Not that I watch on YouTube very often, but yeah, no fluctuations, no nothing. Very good broadcast, no issues at all. Yeah, that's about it. Until after, if you're going to hang around, I'll be VK3EKH, VK3VAT.
Yeah, no worries, Tony. VK3VAT, VK3EKH. No, I'm transmitting. I went to turn the transmitter on to fire up the TV repeater, and of course that's when I could see no picture, and that's when I came up on the local repeater, and I just forgot to turn it off. So I've been transmitting madly away on 1255, and I assume that there's been a picture there. In fact, I should be able to check. Can I check? How can I check? Oh yeah, if I just do this should work, because I'm on channel 1, that's RTV1. Do this, that's RTV2, and that's 1255 simplex, and I've got a signal. I've got a signal but a blank screen. That could be, I don't know if there's a picture there or not. There is a signal. Currently it's a blank screen. That might be something else, I don't know. But at least if I had been going through the TV repeater, then everybody would have been telling me that I've got a blank picture, so that would have been something else I would have to worried about. Anyway, never mind, Tony. Thanks very much for calling in, and you're the last, I think. So everybody that's on the Discord channel there, thanks for coming in on the Discord channel. Martin, VK7JAH, Rob, VK3XRA, Kim, VK5FUSE, thanks Kim, and and who else is there? Richard, VK3VRS. Every now and then I get this thing happening on the right side of the screen. Richard, I don't know whether you're trying to attempt to do something to the Discord viewing window, but every now and then there's something that comes up and it's horribly out of sync. So I don't know what that might be. But yeah, no worries, Kim. And I think that's about all there is on the chat window that's come up tonight. We also got John. I've just almost forgot to mention, John sent an email to me. VK2 Echo Mike Fox. Thanks, John, for the email. 20 over 9 on 80 into Leeton, New South Wales. So thanks for the report, John. Much appreciated. Excellent stuff indeed. That's what we want to see. Alright everyone, I'll just take one more quick listen on 3541.
I think it's 6 metres, not 6 metres. 11 years of static and 30 seconds of activity.
Was it you, Graham?
No, Andrew, 3BQ. So, yeah, isn't it 6 metres?
Oh, now there was another station there too. 6 metres. So what was that in reference to, Andrew?
Oh, Graham saying that was up in China the other day. You know, 8 years of static and 30 minutes of activity.
Oh yeah. What, you still there, Graham?
Yeah, no, it was a bit more than 30 minutes, Andrew. It was about bloody 3.5 hours or so. Yeah, I guess it's the temp season and the with all the sunspot activity, it's about the right time of the cycle for it to go off. But yeah, it is more active than it is made out to be, but it is a bit of 6 metres. Yeah, well, what I would say is that I suppose with the advent of FT8, it has provided some propagation, signal propagation, and that's been fairly active. Like I've worked lots of JAs and that before on FT8, and I use that sometimes as a bit of an indication as to if FT8 starts to get reasonable signals that are well above the noise, then it's a good indication that the sideband and voice portion of the band is going to be open too. But yeah, I was actually hoping that we might have heard something coming through from maybe the likes of Europe or in the mornings there's been good 10-metre propagation into the United States and into the Pacific Islands, some big signals from there, so I thought that there might be an opportunity for that to start up as well. But not that I've heard at this time. But yeah, it was certainly a bit of fun anyway, and good to be in amongst them. Yeah, but as you say, you know, lots and lots of static noise and monitoring, but it's just one of those things you just need someone to be around to make a comment or notify that it's up and running, and everyone comes out of the woodwork and switches their band selector to 6 metres. Anyway, there we go. And Clint, you need to fix your 6 metre band. VK3CSJ, or I suppose you're going to CSJ, VK3GL.
Yeah, no worries, great. And all understood, Andrew. Yeah, 6 metres is a funny beast. It's an interesting band though, really. 6 metres, so it's very fortunate that the amateur service exists there on such a wide range, 50 to 54. Yeah, very good. Well, look, the 6 metre beam's working, but it's, as you know, it's lost one element on the driven element side of it. And I think that's the high end of the band, so it's actually working quite well down in the low end of the band for the ATN type antenna that it is. So at some stage I'll replace that, you know, or I'll fix it, but I'll want to, as previous discussions from several months ago, the idea is to replace the antenna, something similar to the kind of beam that you've got, long boom and dedicated to the low end of the band. So that's what I'd prefer to have up for 6 really. So we'll get there one day with that. In the meantime, I've got a log antenna that's still sitting in Lee's driveway that I need to get around here, so that's another story. All right, mate. There was another station, very weak, but was there another station there, VK3 EKH, listening? Very weak, Kim, but we do have you there. VK5 FUSE, VK3 EKH. I probably won't really copy much of what you're saying, but we do hear you. Very weak in the noise, and I'll put you down on the logbook. VK5 FUSE, VK3 EKH. Thanks, Kim. VK5 FUSE, VK3 EKH. Yeah, your readability is a bit on the dodgy side. You're not even moving the meter, but I can hear you. I can hear your modulation just, and the 5 and 9 plus is what I got. Not sure how plus, but I got the 5 and 9 plus over there. So that's not doing too bad for me, isn't it? Thanks, Kim. Same to you. Have a good weekend, mate. Have a good week, and we'll catch up with you next Friday for sure. On that note, this is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, concluding transmissions for tonight on 80 metres and via the YouTube stream. Anybody that has been watching YouTube, especially overseas, I'd welcome a note, and email address is vk3ekh@gmail.com. VK3EKH. You can see it on the screen right there in the where's my camera? There, where it says VK3EKH. That's the email. VK3EKH@gmail.com. So anybody who's watching the stream overseas, anybody, whether you're foreign, not, or whatever, you would be foreign, but it's just let me know. Just curiosity where this stream is going in this world that we live in, crazy old world. This is VK3EKH, concluding. All information about the Society can be found at the ASV website at www.asv.org.au. Good night, everybody. Take care, look after yourselves, and stay out of trouble, as Robocop would say. Cheers, everyone. VK3EKH. See you, Andrew.
Good, Clint.
Hey, Clint.
Bye.
Bye.
Alright, cheers everyone who's watching YouTube. Thanks for watching, and hopefully next week we'll have the ATV repeater back online, which I'm sure it will be. So we shall shut the stream down and go to test pattern. Wonderful test pattern. Cheers everyone.